Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is the paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, Pete Barnes and James McAlpine. Let me tell you one thing before we go any further. I am in a film at the moment and I'm playing Gary Newbon, which is why...
Former TalkSport favourite.
Yeah, which is why my hair looks a cross between Zac Efron and Princess Diana.
But it's incredible because he is like, even in the breaks, because he's method acting, he's still like Gary Newbon. You can't get it out of him.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to this film, by the way. It's about the Michael Watson-Chris Eubank fight. I think it's just going to be absolutely amazing. Anyway, it's going to take a year to edit, so there's no point in talking about it now. But look, before we do the paper review, I want to go to Pete Barnes. So we had a debate last week, and just to bring people up to speed, you advanced a point that you've advanced on many occasions, which was, whilst you and I politically agree, you believe that reform is a wrecking ball that splits the vote, and you have very grave concerns about reform, and you blame them for the Labour government, at least in part. No, sorry, for the Labour government's big majority. You don't blame it for the Labour government. So loads of people have been in touch. They didn't have a go at you because I think we're all kind of in this middle position. But what they asked me to ask you is this. What are you expecting to happen? And let me unpack that very quickly. So your theory is based on the idea that the Conservative Party is the natural party of right-wing government, that it is viable, that it has a future, that its infrastructure is going to propel it forward, and that reform are the insurgents. And what people have said to me is, they're just not sure that's right. What it looks like now is that in the same way as the DUP replaced the UUP in Northern Ireland, actually there has been a fundamental realignment. And whilst what you've said would have been true of UKIP 15 years ago, it simply isn't true of reform. Now, I think most of us are unsure, so I'll give you the time to answer.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and I would say there's something to it, but my problem is the sheer amount of work that reform have to get done now to even get through the first day of government is astounding. They need at least 650 good candidates, not 400, not 200.
They've got 3.5 years to sort it out.
That's not enough time. That is nowhere near enough time to have policies to overturn the blob, to turn around the economy, to turn around the migration crisis, to turn around geopolitics. And my point is, while they're still messing around with the fringes at this point, they're not cohesive enough. They're not guided by a singular vision. They're
not
let me answer that. If I was Zia Youssef, I know what he'd say. He'd say, look, Pete, you're completely right. But this is an issue that we've recognised. We are now ploughing millions into not a manifesto, but a programme for government. That process is not complete. But to be fair, we are doing more than the other political parties, to which you would say, yeah, but the other political parties have got institutional knowledge that you don't have. But to be fair, I complained previously about things like, I mean, the candidates thing is a nightmare, but I said things like, you know, who are going to be your special advisors? Who are going to be, you know, what is the legislative programme? Now, to be fair, they've employed people really at quite a high level, including Danny Kruger, to fix that problem. Now, so I'm going to simply put to you what Zia Youssef would say. I take your point, but you can't hold that against me now, because by the time of the election, I will have everything in place in a full legislative programme.
I don't believe...
Unlike Labour.
Okay, so that's fair, but I would say I look at previous examples to where we are now. They're still not membership. There's still no constitution. Nigel Farage is still an unelected leader. There is still huge problems that they said were going to be fixed directly after the general election. We're now 16 months beyond it, and they're still there.
Yeah, but there is a blueprint, isn't there, with Trump? I mean, Trump's second term, Farage has seen what's happened. You've got to get the people, and you've got to get everything set up before, and he's seen that.
100%.
But before you go any further, Pete, before you go any further, this is just to keep the producers happy.
Yes.
Let's pretend we're talking about the front page of the Telegraph. No, I'm joking. But if I look at the front page of the Telegraph, 200 million on the COVID inquiry. You know, look, at the end of the day, most people in reform, most people who've gone to the Greens, most people, you know, who've walked away from the traditional parties are literally saying this is a shambles.
Yeah.
You know, and I take the blame. I was a senior parliamentary assistant in 2010, right? That government, the Conservative government over 14 years, failed to address any of the fundamental problems. And the reason it failed to address any of the fundamental problems, because it failed to recognise what the fundamental problems were. We're about to have a budget. We're about to have a budget next week, or whatever. And what are they going to do? They're going to say we've lost control of spending, so we're going to nail people to the desk in covert ways. 200 million on a COVID inquiry on the front page of the Telegraph. The whole thing's a joke.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think it completely is. But I would say that the last 14 years we're tidying up, and I don't like to use the previous government as an excuse, but the amount of money that was spent under the new Labour years, the economic catastrophe that 2010, 2008 and 2010 actually was, it pales in comparison to what the actual Labour Party inherited, which was an uptick in the economy.
Okay, so
what I will say though, to your point,
we're going to tell you the tall man next to you is in a minute.
Okay, so James McAlpine is with us. It's his first time as one of our contributors, and we appreciate you coming. You have a dubious title, not as dubious as people at the BBC. You have a dubious title, which is that you are. The papers have said you are the Tory party's tallest ever member.
Yes.
So what you're going to have to do is
stand
up. So just to be
careful
clear,
of the light.
The problem is
the wires and
the wire won't stretch.
No,
how tall are you?
7'2".
Watch that line.
7'2".
Stand up next to him, Pete, just to get... Pete is an average size, man.
Yes.
Yeah, so Pete isn't short.
No, I'm 5'10".
Pete is 6'8". No, he's...
So, James, I've got to be honest with you. I think it is a dubious... You can sit down now. I'm glad that wire stretched. It is a bizarre title. It's like saying you are Britain's most ginger pizza delivery man. I don't see how the two go together. But I just want to ask you about this.
Well, he's not ginger. That's a bit.
It's two things that don't go together, right? Who cares who the tallest Tory is, right?
I think it was just an alliterative piece made up by the Daily Star.
I'm not dissing you.
No, of course. I'm just saying it was just alliterative by the Daily Star. It was eye-catching.
Yeah, I've got to say
it's not been confirmed by Norris McGuirter. Let's just say that we don't know. It's not officially.
He's been dead for about 15 years.
Well, exactly. That's why we couldn't get it.
So I just want to ask you about being tall. So there are some people who have a medical problem. You're just a tall person. You don't have any.
It's just simple genetics.
Okay.
Is your dad really tall, or your mum?
I remember watching Warwick Davis talk at the Oxford Union, and what he said the fundamental problem that he has in life is not his height; it's the fact the whole system is built for people who are about Pete's size, about my size, about Ash's size. Do you have problems, and what are those problems?
Low doorways, typically one. Small cars.
My mum's Fiat Panda, they've had to pull out the front seats.
Do you have to drive a convertible everywhere, even in the winter?
Well, I currently don't drive at the moment. I haven't done my driving lessons yet. But one of my very good friends from uni has had a Fiat 500, which in the front passenger seat is actually more spacious than you think it is.
That's
drove all the way.
Do you remember Hightower in Police Academy would sit in the back seats?
Sorry?
He'd rip out the front seats.
Well, I mean, you would be better
Police
if you were in a small car. You would be better taking the front seat out and driving from the back seat. So there are certainly smaller cars.
Well, exactly. I mean, you're not the first person to say that.
Is it annoying being people talking about it all the time?
I don't mind. It's what people have curiosity.
Because it's almost like being a celebrity. Because when you're out and about, people will look at you. Well, you are. But I mean, you because people will look at you and go, "Wow, that's
Yeah, in fact, I think Ash is right. It's not that you're tall. It's that you're so tall that it is actually a talking point.
Yes,
right?
it is.
So somebody can be tall, short, fat, thin.
It's a so-called abnormality.
Yeah, you are somebody that when you walk down the street, people will go, "Oh bloody hell!"
Yeah.
So presumably you were pretty tall for most of your life.
Yes.
When did you become extraordinarily tall?
He was born 4'3".
No, he was born about 8 inches.
Were you a heavy baby or just a normal?
Well, I was born at the St John's Hospital in Edinburgh.
That's not an important detail.
No. But in that hospital's whole history, I was the second biggest baby ever born. Second. I don't know who the first was, but I was the second biggest.
Have you got sisters and brothers? Are they very tall?
I'm an only child.
So there was I'm told that there was a bizarre incident at Conservative Party conference. So this is unusual for us, but apparently not unusual for you. You go somewhere and people go, "Bloody hell, I want a photo with you just because you're quite tall."
Yes.
One of those people was Kemi Badenoch. Now
she's very small. Actually.
It's a slightly bizarre thing, isn't it? When somebody as famous as that walks up and goes, "Can I have a photo with you?" Talk me through that.
Well, it was. I had met her, I think, a couple of days before the final day of conference, and then sort of the press thought it would be a good idea to get a picture of me next to her. And then, so that happened, it went on the front page of the Daily Star, and then everything just took off. I support her. I think she's a great leader of the Conservatives. I think she's united the party, as I've said before. And I look forward to see what she does next.
So I'm going to say this to you. Look, I think Asher and I are of the same mind on this, though we've not had a long discussion. Look, we don't really slag off Kemi Badenoch on this show, simply because I don't see much wrong with that. I just fear she's irrelevant. I don't think...
I think she's good when she gets going, but I don't think she gets going enough. When she goes on the attack, I think she's actually got a bit of steel about her, but I think she...
Oh, she's definitely got steel about her.
She's not doing it enough. Do you know what I mean? She's not there doing that enough. It's getting better.
I was at an emergency summit, food and farming emergency summit on Monday, and she was speaking there. And when she got up on the stage and she spoke with such clarity, with such precision. It was exactly the same as that conference. When she did that final speech at conference, we were hanging off every single word she was saying, and not very many politicians can do that.
I think she's got a critical weakness, right? And I don't know the woman, so I might be wrong. And you've met her a couple of times. It strikes me that it takes an enormous amount of mettle to be the leader of the opposition after a catastrophic defeat. You know, if you look at William Hague once said that the Tony Blair broad church was that broad that I was tempted to join myself, right? I mean, she is running into machine gun fire all the time. And I guess my criticism of her, now, by the way, I think most people would be guilty of this. I think that sometimes she's unrealistic about what she can achieve. At the end of the day, she is in a bad position, but she gets kind of disheartened by the fact that she's not able to fix it in one day.
Well, I still think she's a very confident leader, and I think to be a leader of a party, even in the shadow cabinet, you need to have confidence, and she has confidence.
So let me ask you this question. So we can go to Pete in a minute. The debate in this show, and thank you so much for joining our team. Thank you. But our debate is what we do about this fracture on the right. So I will tell you, my political views have not changed at all. I'm genuinely disappointed that Reform and the Conservative Party are not the same party. I'm genuinely disappointed, by the way, in the way that Labour has let down the trade unions and the working class. So it's not just...
Well, exactly.
But the problem I've got is this, and this is why I am angry with the Conservative Party, and this is where me and Pete kind of disagree slightly. I think that there was a golden opportunity in that election in whatever it was, 2019. For the first time, working class people in Northern England seriously considered voting Conservative. The first time since Benjamin Disraeli, and the Conservatives in the south of England and the CCHQ bilged it up. And that was the end. At the end of the day, I said to Pete at one point, I said, listen, Pete, you should become the Conservative candidate for Wigan. You're going to beat Lisa Nandy. Yeah. And do you know what? At that point, it was sensible. There's not a prayer.
No, not a chance.
Are you going to leave, Pete? The word on the street is that Pete's going to leave the Tory party.
I left like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, mate, why? I got the memo.
I left because...
By the way, I don't believe you. Can I tell you why I don't believe you? Have you tried to cancel your membership?
Oh, honestly, it's like trying to leave a gym.
It's not possible.
Like trying to leave a gym, honestly.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. But
so just to be clear, so we don't do fake news, Pete thinks of himself as having left.
I sent off the form.
That's right. But on a serious note, look, you've angered people in Reform because they watch this show and they feel the reason Reform hate you, and they do hate you, is they feel that you are a political kindred spirit who continues to shine up the Conservative Party.
I don't shine up the Conservative.
Who are you joining, Pete? Are you going to Reform?
No one, and this is my point. I don't think anybody is capable on their own of fixing it. Andre is right. The right has to unite to fix this problem. The Reform Party's main failure is the fact it's a hollow core. There's no structure within it. You can say you've got 3 years to fix it. That's not enough time. You need enough members, people to run to be MPs. You then need to fix the numbers in the House of Lords. You need the numbers to be special advisors, to be the bag people, the people that actually run the party. You then have to have the policy. You've then got to have all this stuff.
You've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
You've got to start somewhere. But we don't have time. We don't have time to fix the problems.
Let me ask you this. So, and once again, the front page of the Telegraph, I can go through all of it. 200 million on COVID, council tax out of control on the front page of the Telegraph. Let me say this. I think the number one criticism you can make of Nigel Farage if he becomes Prime Minister will be this. He has a solid track record of being incapable of governing his bench.
Yeah.
Right? They will all go off in different directions. Yes. There'll be rebellions here, rebellions there, wherever. When I look at the weakness of the House of Commons, when I look at how dominant the government is, you know what? An ungovernable group might actually be a good thing.
I think this is the worst time to try that as an experiment. I think the economic catastrophe we're waltzing into, I think everything is crumbling, everything is falling apart.
We're living in an experiment now, aren't we?
I actually think the experiment has ended. I don't like this idea of decline. We've collapsed. We've got to draw a line, because we're perpetuating the collapse by continuing to say it's a collapse. If we just say we've collapsed, then you have to...
Let me make this point to you, James McAlpine. I've got a friend of mine in the Royal Navy. He says we've got all these frigates patrolling our waters with one missile per boat. I mean, at the end of the day, and look, I'm just going to use an old-fashioned phrase, we're all hat and no knickers.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's especially concerning now we have a huge threat by Russia with one of their, it was in the news yesterday, one of their warships in the North Sea. And Russia is a big threat.
But let me make this point to you. Let me make this point to you. We're sat there joking about the fact the Russian aircraft carrier needs a tugboat because it's absolutely destroyed. But always remember something. You can take a dinghy from Calais and penetrate the United Kingdom with no passport, having been a jihadi terrorist in Syria. At the end of the day, from what I can see, the capability of the Russian Navy far outstrips the people that are defeating our borders anyway.
Well, we also, as a group of NATO, we need to unite and we need to protect each other. We also need to do a lot more, I think, to support Ukraine in this war between Russia and Ukraine.
So let me ask you this question finally. So I would not be critical of anybody for sticking with the political party. We've had so many people on who are Labour through and through, old Labour, who say, I'm a trade unionist, I'm a patriotic, working class person, I'm not being thrown out by the Keir Starmers. So I'm not going to criticise you for sticking with the Tories. What was the argument in favour of you being a Conservative rather than being anything else?
Well, Conservatives stand up for key British values, tradition, British farming.
Not anymore, they don't, do they?
Well, still, it's in their DNA. British farming, low taxes, and a strong economy.
If it's in their DNA, how come under Sunak and under it wasn't, the DNA had gone? I mean, we had the highest tax in 70 years. What has happened? Because the DNA's gone out.
Happened.
Yeah, but it was before that. I mean, Cameron, it all went the tour of the way.
But hang on a second.
They carried on with Blairism.
What people say about Pete and what they say about...
Don't tell them what they say about
Pete. What they will say.
The things that are repeatable on air.
They generally say nice things, but what they will say about you is they'll say you're just delusional. Right, you are seeing something that doesn't exist.
And let them say that.
But my point is, I'm not being critical of you. But my point is, most people watching this believe that Labour and the Conservatives have basically collapsed. Well, I mean, might be wrong.
They've caused permanent damage with the Boris wave. They've permanently caused damage to the country. Aren't they permanently finished? They've had a great run, longer than any other political party in the world.
They're not politically finished, no. And Labour are in rapid decline at the moment.
But they've caused permanent damage to the country, the Boris way.
They did during many other periods of history,
I'll be honest with you.
Labour Party.
There is a difference. I'll tell you one thing. There is a difference between the Conservatives and Labour.
Huge.
Right, and the difference is this. Labour have actively sought to denigrate, insult, and, I mean, they're the first political party in history to sack their own voters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's be clear. Andy Burnham is banned from Lee Labour Club. Right? He was the Member of Parliament with a majority of 24,000. He's banned. And I'll tell you why he's banned, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. And by the way, people from East Lee Labour Club like this. Right? On the day, if you have a birthday that week as a member in East Lee Labour Club, when it's like Phoenix Nights, when on the Saturday night, you have to buy everybody a bit of food. And there are two options. You can have a meat and potato pie, or a meat and potato pasty. There's not a vegan option. There's not a halal option. There's no gender-neutral toilets, right?
It's enough choice,
They don't have a diversity strategy, right? They just think it's all a load of middle-class, forgive my language, bollocks.
That's probably what's in the pies.
Yeah, and I would say that the reason that, for picking up on your point, Ash, is the reason the Conservatives were such a catastrophe is because they panicked because of Nigel Farage and UKIP. They didn't want to get branded as the far right over the UKIP early years, so they lurched to the centre, but the centre became the left, and then they didn't know what to do. They got caught between these ideological buttresses, and then because everything was spiralling out of control, they were just trying to keep their heads above the water. That's when the Tory Party lost its identity.
With respect, Pete, I would rarely say this to you, but I feel you've been dishonest, right? And I'm going to explain why. When they won Lee in Greater Manchester, you could see the direction of travel. You begged them to capitalise on it. You begged them to capitalise on it. And what did they do? They appealed to Liberal Democrat waverers in the south of England. Yeah, right. I will tell you, if James Grundy had retained Lee, Makerfield would have been next.
Yes.
Wigan would have been next. It would have gone completely radioactive. What they did instead was they sat back and they worried about bloody COVID masks and all this rubbish. What they needed to do was build infrastructure in the north of England. What they actually did was sacked Boris and played...
I think they started a general election before that. If you look at the Theresa May general election, she was on track to win more seats than Boris in that area.
Hang on a second. You know that the political opportunity was in the Red Wall.
Yeah.
You know that was... And now we're talking about net zero, trans rights, all the stuff that these people hate. All of it.
Oh, definitely.
And by the way, they didn't even get one single extra vote in the South of England.
Anyway, look, we've got to take a little breaky. 0344 499 1000. Give us a ring. It's going to be all about your calls as well. We're going through the papers. It's Andre and Ash, and we're having a great time.
By the way, my hair looks dreadful. I'm yeah,
it does. We'll sort that out. Any hair advice, give us a ring, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, well, let me tell you what we said during the break. We're absolutely delighted that James McAlpine is co-hosting for us today. You know, I just want to ask you...
The tallest Tory.
Why get into politics? What's your background? Why did you... What interests you about this? Sorry, let's do this for compliance. What interests you about the front page of the Daily Express today? Because we are doing a paper review.
How old are you? 23, 24?
22. No, but back to your question. Well, I first got interested in politics around just before COVID, around the COVID years, where I got really invested into current affairs. And it was my late grandmother who encouraged me to join the Conservative Party because she thought, more young people should be getting into politics.
She thought, what with your accent, Labour would be a mistake.
Actually,
Not these days. Yeah.
She thought I would benefit from joining the Conservative Party, and I have hugely. And I'm incredibly grateful.
But you feel like somebody, and I'm not being rude when I say this, who's kind of got that old-fashioned view. I'm not surprised your grandmother told you, which was. I come from this area. The Conservative Party is the thing. Therefore,
what area are you from?
Hang on a second. The way I engage is to join the party. A lot of people don't do that anymore. The way they engage is to go on social media and comment.
It's because of the way I was raised. I was raised in quite a very conservative household. But yes, back to your point there. I live in Scotland under the SNP.
Are you from Scotland?
I'm from Edinburgh.
Okay. Only very posh people have English accents from Scotland.
Well, it's an Edinburgh accent.
In that
Did
case,
you go to Gordonstown or something?
No, I went to a little school called Clifton Hall.
Okay, can I ask you this question, James?
Yes.
Which I think is a really important point about Scotland. So, I'm English. I do not love my country. I love the United Kingdom, and I always think. I'm in a kind of way jealous of Scotland, because even though it's a much smaller country than England, there's a lot of things about it, its heritage, its culture, all those sorts of things are great. I personally, I don't sit here and slag off Scotland. What I will say is I'm sad for what's happened. It seems to me that a once great country just defines itself on what it dislikes, what it hates, what it's against.
On being anti-English, really.
Exactly. Every single thing they say in the Scottish Government and in the SNP is how much they hate Westminster.
Yeah.
They don't care about what's going on in Scotland. They don't care about Scotland.
And that's showing with the drugs problem, the education, everything that's going on.
I went to Scotland during the referendum, to independence referendum, and it seemed to me it was quite an intelligent debate. And the debate basically was not what I expected. What they were saying was this. They were saying, look, we know that England loves us and it would devastate the English to break up the United Kingdom. However, we do have a problem. 90% of people in the UK are English. And so we want to be a social democratic, effectively kind of Nordic state, and we are in a coalition with one of the most conservative countries on earth, England, right? So basically what they were saying that puts us in quite a difficult position, because no matter how much England does for us, numerically we're just massively outvoted. And that's fine, and I get that debate, and that is an interesting debate. What I see now is a culture developing in Scotland, which is victimhood, loser, hate the English, whatever. Yes. And I just sit there and I think to myself, have some bloody pride.
It's been like that since 2014. I remember, well, I was at primary school at that time, so I didn't really see as much of it. But there was a certain divide when you're driving out of Edinburgh, where there was more unionists living in the centre of Edinburgh. And the further out of Edinburgh you went with the Union flag, you'd get honked out, you'd get chased down by cars. Because of the hatred towards not just the English, with the SNP, I've got to specify the SNP's hatred towards the English and towards the United Kingdom. Scotland benefits the United Kingdom. It's our oil, our defence, we have the submarines.
The Barnett formula, you get
Well, there was that list of all the things that were invented by a Scotsman.
The internet, television,
everything.
But if I look at say the Ulster Scots or the Welsh, I kind of get that whole thing. So, as an example, I'm strongly in favour of bilingual posts and bilingual signs in Wales. Look, you know, I don't think anybody is Welsh as only speaks Welsh, right? However, I think it's important to maintain the heritage of your country. I think it's right.
And they do use
that Welsh children learn Welsh in school.
Yeah.
The reintroduction of Welsh, I think, is a good thing. But when you look at the Welsh, I accept that Plaid Cymru nominally want independence, but principally what the Welsh nationalism is, it seems to me, is to basically say, we are the UK, we don't trust you lot to look after our interests, so we're going to argue vociferously for it. Similarly, with the Ulster Scots, when they say, who are they loyal to if they're loyalists? And actually what they say is, we don't trust Westminster to protect our interests, but we are British.
Well, can I just say, I've got a huge pride in my country. I love
which is what?
I love wearing my tartan.
But which country?
Scotland, don't you?
Scotland, but I've also got a huge pride in the United Kingdom. I'm a unionist through and through. I would never want Scottish independence ever, but I've still got a pride in putting on my tartan kilt and tartan trews.
Do you think the English should be more proud of being English, which doesn't?
I think we should all be proud of being British.
Yeah, the problem.
England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. We should all be proud of being British.
Pete, can I ask you this question? I think the fundamental problem with what James has just said is is England a country?
Well, this is always the big argument.
Part of the issue is if you think of the similarity. So let me just explain one thing about Pete. Even though we fought like cat and dog, the first day that you filled in on one of my shows, I hired you as a contributor, and that was the start of your career, because I just felt, you know, we're kindred spirits politically. Now we've almost fought each other physically when we fall now, but I think we work well together. But I get
a mismatch.
I get the cultural bond between you and me. I don't think there's any special cultural bond between you, me, and somebody from Weymouth.
No, and this is half of the problem, is that you have to remember that Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Northern Ireland are revolutionary countries. England has always had the problem of being top dog.
Isn't Britain just Greater England, really?
Well, to a degree,
the name
it is.
For Greater England.
This is the problem, is that because we've been evolutionary, we've never really had to fight for our freedoms. It was just rather given to us. But it was important that it's more scraps from the top table.
But nobody texts in and says, oh, that Asher Gould's English. They go, Asher Gould's a Brummie, and Andre's from, you know, Lancashire.
It's very similar, I imagine, to, say, like in Italy, where people are very proud to be from Milan, or very proud to be from Roma, like, you know, that kind of city-state. I think that's very true. But I think that's because each area of England has its own local identity, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The problem we have now is because our politics is so heavy on identity, and everyone goes, well, what about the English? And we go, oh, wait, we've never had to answer that question before. We're short of an answer.
My favourite thing about that piece is something that I've discovered over my years in politics. The 1974 Local Government Act. Wherever you go in the country, there's these little towns that hate the town next door.
Yes.
They always go, Wigan's not perfect, but it's lucky I'm not from Lee.
Yes.
In 1974,
It's like Newcastle and Sunderland.
In 1974, they were all put together.
Yeah.
East Ham and West Ham had literally fought wars against each other, and they became Newham.
I know. It's just ridiculous.
All these people hate each other. Do you know something?
North London and South London.
Do you know something?
Arsenal and Tottenham.
Do you know something? Right, so I'm from Lee, and no disrespect to Lee, but it's not the Garden of Eden.
No.
Right, but anyone accusing me of being from Wigan, which is legally where I'm from, furious.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I have had an argument.
Yeah, no, my favourite.
It's like two bald men fighting over a coat.
It really is, but my favourite is, like, from where we're from, are you Lancashire or Greater Manchester? Like, that was settled in like the 1980s, when obviously the Greater Manchester Borough was kind of created. But I swear to God, there are some people where I'm from will never say they're from Greater Manchester. They are from Lancashire. But I don't think that kind of identity is a bad thing.
Tribalism. You get it with postcodes, don't you? It's just stupid animal behaviour, isn't it?
What makes me laugh more than anything else, you go to these places and there's history as an example in the English Civil War, because Wigan was on the side of the Royalists, Lee was on the side of the Parliamentarians. So they've literally fought wars against
I think they did it deliberately.
It's like Brexit. Anyway, look, we've got to carry on with the paper.
Yeah.
This is very sad news. We've got to pretend to do the paper. The Guardian and Manny from the Stone Roses, the Beating Heart, Manny, the bass player. He's died at age. His birthday was 63rd birthday. What a seminal band. They were the biggest band in the country in the mid-80s, and they sort of lost it a bit after they fell out with their record label Silvertone, but they did come back with a second coming. And I Am the Resurrection, Fool's Gold, of course, they're great hits, amazing bass lines. And I was reading today how I Am the Resurrection, he was sort of playing Taxman by Paul McCartney, the Beatles, and that.
James, he's doing this because he knows you can't respond.
Yes. And the thing is, well, we're talking about Wigan, and Wigan Pier, of course, to a Northern Soul. He was very into the Northern Soul, which is why he said he got into the bass.
Can I? Oh, right, okay. Can you respond to that? Because I can't.
No. I can just about do Northern Soul, but that's about it. But I'll leave it to you.
He was amazing, man. His real name, actually, I only knew him as
by the way,
Manny.
just to explain, I'm not being disrespectful about the man's death. I just don't know a great deal about his career.
I'm just trying to find his real name.
My late father was a massive fan of David Bowie, Pink Floyd.
Gary Mounfield, but obviously known as Manny.
I sort of, in my childhood, my dad would put on some David Bowie in the sitting room, and we would listen to David Bowie in the car.
Starman. Yep. I'm bringing it back for you.
Do you know what this reminds me of, Pete? When I used to work on Julia Hartley-Brewer's breakfast show, they always used to bring in Ben Fletcher, and he'd talk about the sport.
Yes.
Right? And he'd always throw it back to Julia, who knew nothing about sport. And she'd go, Benjamin Butterworth. And the blood would drain from his face.
No, we haven't finished with your David Bowie story.
No, honestly.
No. So I.
Pete, just shut up.
Sort of,
this is good for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I was sort of brought up round David Bowie, Pink Floyd, Queen.
Amazing.
Sort of those big groups and big artists.
Which you don't really get now.
No, you don't. But I remember after David Bowie passed away, a lot more people seem to come out and say they actually liked his music. I mean, I go onto TikTok now and I'll at least see a good handful of TikToks using the David Starman, Life on Mars changes.
But isn't James? Isn't there an element of this which
Hunky Dory,
which
great
is
album.
What happens? It seems to me, and I'm not an expert in music,
Neither
is
am I.
quite often when somebody sadly dies, their music is played on the TV and radio, and people go, "Oh wow, that's really good." Right? So it's not so much that people have got nostalgia for someone who's died. It's more that they'd forgotten or they didn't know the songs.
Well, Bowie reinvented himself every few years. He'd come out with something new, and it was
tried to get it
amazing.
back, Pete.
But I did. People didn't. When he died, I remember he did a load of rubbish as well. Sometimes you'd throw in stuff and you'll have hits. But what's Pete's favourite?
Did you hear that?
What's your favourite Bowie song?
What's Pete's favourite Bowie
Ashes to
song?
Ashes.
Oh my God.
Let's Dance.
Actually, I'll give you Ashes to Ashes. I like that one. Let's
Let's Dance.
I have to admit, I'm not much of a Bowie fan. I know, I've got to say, I'm not. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, but
Yeah, I'm a Queen fan.
By the way,
but
I've got 14 of David Bowie's buttons.
I thought-
He came in
I
once,
knew-
and
I
they
knew
are
you
for
were gonna say
sale on the open market.
Do you know,
Anyway,
do you know
we've
this?
got-
No, I'm sorry. Do you know, Pete, can I tell you something?
Yes.
Share a
You know,
fag with
people
Bowie.
have a go at me for the fact that you and I have argued.
Yeah.
What they're saying in my ear now, asking what his favourite Bowie song is. Has he ever been to a Steps concert? They're
Steps concert?
The minute they realise you're out,
He's always down the
the
steps.
minute they realised you're out of your depth, they were doing you over.
honestly,
I'm telling you.
I want to pick up on something you
He
said.
thinks butter won't melt in his mouth. I'm telling you.
Oh no, I tell you now. When you were about the sport, when I hosted it for the second time, the sports section was the death of me, because I could talk about parliamentary procedure, I could talk about current affairs, geopolitics. You talk to me about a football
What's your
match.
favourite sports?
Well, I'm a rugby league guy, but that's like a niche sport in the south of England.
do you remember?
I honestly, I have
Ruffian
never.
sport,
It was the
ruffians.
worst 8 minutes of my entire life.
My favourite story about you is this. We were working together on That Was the Woke That Was, and it's fair to say we hated each other by that point. And we literally did descend into violence on multiple... Not actually,
Nah,
came
yeah,
close.
yeah.
Right. Even though I hated you, there was a question I had to read. And what was the name of the person? Elegalibus.
I still remember it.
In the end...
Isn't that on the back of your throat?
In the end, I had to say, listen, Pete,
Yeah.
sit in this chair. That was your first ever present.
It
And
was.
do you know what happened? You sat there thinking... Andrea hates me.
Yeah.
He's so arrogant, right? And even he has conceded now that the word elegalibus is too much to handle.
Yeah. No, but it was one of those moments where I was like, I can read. I think.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, don't cop me.
No, but my favourite one was the one where I finally snapped, and I was when you had to go at Elon Musk. That was the one where I was like, I've listened to you mumble for over 100 episodes of this show. How can you say that Elon Musk is like not worthy of Man of the Year or whatever we were arguing about? It was one of like the,
No,
one of the first ones we did.
my favourite moment when there was almost violence and Chuck, the producer, said, "Can you stop having a drink with this man?"
Anyway, look, we've got to take a little break. 03444991000. We've got Pete Barnes and James McAlpine, who is not official, but he's known as the tallest Tory. It's Andre and Ash at Andre JP Walk at Virtual Ash. Back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Stop talking now.
The mic's on now.
Okay.
It's on a Gould.
Okay, so this is the front page of the Metro, and look, I've got to be honest with you, Pete. This whole thing about Boris Johnson and COVID, I will tell you what I've done, and you can criticise me, the three of you, if you want. When I discovered that you could only walk into the COVID inquiry if you'd had a COVID test, and they're still doing that now, I concluded they were nutters and decided I didn't want to listen to what they were saying. Right, now, have you taken any notice? Do you care?
No.
Or do you... Because I'll tell you...
Sorry,
go on,
I was just going to say, this was the most predictable outcome of any government inquiry that has ever existed in the history of government inquiries, because the remit of it was so narrow that this was the only outcome. I mean, what if it says that, you know, total lockdown could have been avoided? No, it couldn't, because the media were paying for it, the public were paying for it, every bit of society was saying lockdown harder, lockdown harder, and it's just ignored.
Boris's gut decision was correct, it turns out.
It really was, and this is what has annoyed me so much when it comes to Boris, is that we could have followed our original plan with what Sweden actually did.
And
our
it
kind of
and their economy's all right.
Do you know the other thing that I thought was unbecoming? And I texted Dominic Raab about it. Dominic Raab, Deputy Prime Minister. Normally Deputy Prime Minister is just a title.
Didn't he throw a tomato at someone?
So here's what happened. Boris Johnson is in hospital and there's a reasonable chance he's going to die. Right. Her Majesty the Queen is not ill, Queen Elizabeth II, but she's old and is now basically isolated in Windsor Castle. And at the same time as Boris is ill, King Prince Charles, or Prince Charles he was at the time, has now got COVID. Right. In the interview, Dominic Raab was asked the following. Who is in charge of the government? And he said, Boris Johnson is in charge, I'm just a bit of a caretaker. I said to Raab, and it wouldn't have made him Mr. Popular, but I would have said it anyway. Listen, live or die, there is a line of succession. I'm running this government, and if Boris Johnson dies, then he dies. We will appoint a new Prime Minister and a new Deputy Prime Minister. But I want to be absolutely clear to this country that we are not in panic mode. There is a line of succession, and that system works.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But one problem is we don't have a line of succession. We don't really have the same thing that America does in terms of who takes over next.
Deputy PM's quite a new position.
The Deputy PM position
Blair started
it was actually Margaret Thatcher to give it. Yes,
who was the Deputy PM? There wasn't a Deputy PM.
It was kind of.
Blair invented it for Prescott.
No. It's existed and not existed.
So it's one of those kind of. It only really became Deputy Prime Minister under Blair, but the position of kind of first lackey. Really,
but it's worth being geeky here because people like to learn from this show.
Yes,
it's also worth pointing out that many of the big officers of state are not actually what you think they are. So, as an example, Prime Minister is a nickname for the First Lord of the Treasury.
Yes, and also Prime Minister originally started off as a kind of like a term of denigration. Nobody wanted to be the Prime Minister. Right. It was like the King's favourite. It was a bit of a kind of you know like teacher's pet kind of position. But the one thing I will say about COVID is it brought about two things, and I've always said this. One, Andre, you're sick of hearing me say this. We found out what was going on in schools. We found out more about what was being taught in schools.
Do me a favour. Explain that in full, because it's an excellent point and people want to hear it.
We talk now so much about the trans issue. We talk about so much about what our teachers are like, all this kind of stuff. But we would not have known about it if it wasn't for the fact that schools was now at the kitchen table. The schools were at home now, and parents were at home, and people actually got a look and a window into, well, wait a minute, they're being taught this. That is one of the few good things. But the second thing is it brought about the demise of everything, because it showed the sheer incompetence of the state.
But let's be clear on the front page of the Metro. Front page of the Metro is exactly what we're expecting. Boris Johnson was insufficiently draconian. That's what they're saying. This COVID inquiry, not interested in the fact that young people were basically, it was child abuse to lock them up. A 14-year-old, we've all remember that, when your mum and dad go, you're grounded for one weekend. It's like a disaster. You know, it's just the nature of being 14. We put them under house arrest for nearly 2 years.
Well, I was at school then. I was at school during the COVID years.
So was I.
Can I just be really honest? I actually didn't mind not going to school. I actually quite enjoyed sitting in my room, because at that point in my life, my parents and I lived on the Dalmeny estate just outside of Edinburgh. So it was farming estate in Scotland. And I would simply do my online classes, and then I'd go out for a dog walk or go for a bicycle ride around the estate. And actually, I wasn't too...
James, we love you, but you've got to connect with the audience. Not many people own a 14,000-acre estate in Scotland.
Well, you're riding around on a penny farthing.
I didn't own it. I was just simply saying, I was...
My favourite story ever. I do a bit of work for BBC Northern Ireland. I absolutely love Stephen Nolan. He's a great guy. But he asked a question which I thought was one of the funniest things. So I was in the studio in Belfast now. Stephen Nolan is a very lovely man, but he's very serious and quite dour.
He's a big man, he's out of shape.
Well, he's either big or small.
Like an accordion.
But anyway, right. So he was very angry about the following thing. Right? So there'd been a school trip somewhere to a COVID area, and the kids, when they came back, had all been said that they'd got COVID, but they hadn't got COVID, and the medical advice in Northern Ireland was for these kids to all sit in their bedrooms on their own for 4 weeks. Right, so understand that. So Nolan now Nolan now has a 14-year-old boy in the studio who's been locked in his bedroom for 4 weeks, and he says to him, "What did you spend your time in your bedroom doing for 4 weeks?" And the kid looked at him as if to say, "Oh, come on, mate, I'm 14 years old. Give me a break. What did you do for 4 weeks?" Well, we all know what we did.
Well, you're not saying that James did it, are you?
No, well, maybe
he was riding his bike around the estate. By the way, James, everyone would ask you this. Do you play any sports, like, football? You'd be great with corners or basketball. And
Peter Crouch, brilliant striker.
Amazing, he was a great
6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
But no, back to your question. I was thrown into every single sport that tall people are usually have an advantage at. So I did swimming, I did tennis, I did rugby.
You must have swept the board with all the medals, with all that.
Well, no, actually, because I wasn't actually that physically sporty. Right. I was just engaging to sport. My mum got me into playing basketball. I didn't enjoy it.
But you must be able to slam dunk without jumping.
There will have just been an assumption. I had a friend of mine who went to boarding school who was a Sikh. With a turban, and they put him in the cricket team, and he said, "I'm terrible at cricket," and they went, "Well, you must be good." He went, "No, I'm just not. The fact I'm Indian has got nothing to do with it."
Well, sorry, just briefly continue. Then I found rowing, and rowing, I loved it. I did it for 5 years. It was my sport, and at long last, I'd found my true passion.
Just a matter of interest before we go to the break. In terms of passion and whatever, look, you're a pretty articulate guy. We're really pleased that you've come in 22. I think the viewers and listeners are going to be impressed. What is your career trajectory? Do you have one yet?
Well, I'm currently studying business management at Oxford Brookes University.
Good college for that, actually.
After that, I want to go and work in insurance. And then after that...
Why do you want to go and... What do you go... Oh, I want to grow up and work in insurance.
Because, well... I want to work in insurance because it will give me a good background job before I then go into politics. So
that means money.
You're talking about Lloyd's of London and an actuary or something like that?
Well, no, just insurance broking specifically in general. And then because I think I want to have background knowledge in another corporate field before I go into politics.
Okay, listen, but we're only joshing with you.
No, of course.
Isn't the background that you want £1 million in the account before you run for office? Is that it?
It wouldn't be a bad thing. Who would be offered £1 million and say, no, thank you?
My passion for the...
It's not money, it's wanting to develop business.
I don't know where you went to college, Pete. We will go to the break in a second. I don't know where you went to college, but I assume it's Winstanley, where I went. In Oral. But
Oral?
They had a girl who was given an unconditional offer to Oxford to study law. And they said the reason she got the unconditional offer was when they went, "Why do you want to study law?" Everyone else lied. And she actually came up with having read all of the court reports for the past year. And they went, "That's the first person who's applied to law at Oxford who actually cares about the law."
Unbelievable. Anyway, we've got to take a little breaky. 0344 499 1000. Back in a jiffy.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, James McAlpine and Pete Barnes. And we've been talking, and I'm sorry we've not got through all the papers, but we've been talking about the front page of the Daily Telegraph and the fact that the COVID inquiry has cost £200 million and basically has said that we were insufficiently draconian. And I contended, James, that all the major political parties were failures. Why am I wrong?
I don't necessarily disagree with that at all. I think nobody was elected to handle COVID. Mm-hmm. No, but I think the reason why Boris Johnson became Prime Minister was because he was a staunch Leave the EU campaigner. And that's the reason why, because people knew he would get Brexit. He was not voted in to deal with COVID. Nobody knew COVID was going to happen.
During the break, you felt I was a hypocrite. I've got no problem with discussing that. Explain why.
Well, during the break, you both pointed out that you were still Tories.
Yeah.
And I believe you told me earlier, both of you told me earlier, that you are no longer Tory and you're neither Tory or Reform.
Things change quickly in politics.
Yeah, I think.
But you said you've admitted to still being a Tory, which is fine.
So my answer to that, I think, is you've got a point. Mm. Look, I am a supporter of Nigel Farage because I believe that he is the most likely Conservative Prime Minister in this country, right? So when you say, am I a Tory? I'm not. Well, I'm a member of the Conservative Party because you can't phone them up and leave, right? But my view is this. First of all, I have a great deal of respect for the trade unionists who built the Labour Party. You know, these patriots like Clem Attlee, they have had their party taken off them. I also think the Conservative Party has been taken off genuine Conservatives. Look, the reason Pete and I disagree with each other is because Pete maintains that reform is an allergic reaction, and I say that the allergic reaction has now become, the thing.
Well, I think the reason why I'm not a reformist is because I think there are a load of populists. They don't want to.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
That just means democracy, isn't it, populist, of the people.
But honestly, truthfully, I think they don't want to be in government to better the country. They want to be in government to better themselves. Any reform person, call me out on that and debate with me.
Same with most politicians now. That's what they want to do, feather their own nests.
I mean, let's Pete, let's just unpick the word populist because I understand why James said it, and we've been critical of that word. And James can pull me up if I'm wrong here. What he actually means is this. It's governance by headline.
Yes.
Right. So basically, it's who would be an unpopulist?
Exactly, yeah.
But essentially, he's making the point that you make, which is you stick to your guns, maintaining that reform. I don't agree with you, by the way. Reform is a PR campaign, not a governmental proposition.
I don't use the word populist, I use the word reactionary.
Okay.
Because for me, they're reacting to things. Reform is not leading on an issue. If you notice, the issue happens, Reform make a lot of noise. It's never the other way around. And that means that, for me, is not a party that has a direction of travel.
The Tories and Labour are doing that.
That's not necessarily a criticism.
All right,
you
Pete.
need to reform.
All right, Pete.
But if Reform is saying that they are leading, I'd like to know what on.
All right, Pete. Look at my face. You've got a degree in political science, right? You're going to hate this one. Right. What is the argument against saying, right, we have a civil service in this country. Mm-hmm. You're not electing a government. You're electing a parliament and ministers to lead on the direction of policy.
Yeah.
So basically, if what you do is put 5 ministers into each department who represent the views of the people, then surely that is acceptable. You're contending, Pete, that it is a requirement of a political party to have to be able to run every department, bring in.
I think that's a capability of a political party because of the way that our government is structured. What I would contend is it's not an ideology because it doesn't have a vision. Reform has yet to tell me what the country looks like. It can tell me what it doesn't want it to look like.
I agree.
Because they are united by what they're against, and that is why they're still a protest party. Reform define themselves by protest. It's not me that does it because they say every single time, oh well, the Tories did this, oh well, the Labour Party did that.
The population are protesting at the moment.
Yes.
So that's sort of their...
So therefore they are a party born out of protest.
Hang on a second, Pete. We're going to have to do this next week. But my point is this. I get all those points. The Conservative Party has sunk, right?
Yeah.
14 years, they screwed it up.
Anyway, look, we've got to go in 10 seconds if you're listening in the morning, because Mark Dolan is going to be doing your breakfast, so stay tuned for that. It's Mark Dolan coming up at breakfast.
Let's just fill a couple of seconds.
Good morning, I'm Mark Dolan. Right, we're
Okay,
back
so
in the room.
what I always do, so if you're listening on Thursday night, we're still here. What I'm going to do is I normally go to Pete for the final minute to give a prediction of the future.
Pete's final thought.
Now, what I'm going to do is, James, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do it. What do you think? How do you think politics, government in this country is going to unfold
30
over the next 5 years?
30 seconds.
I've got no idea. We can't predict the future. I'm just very concerned about next week's budget. What I'm really concerned about is the farmers of Great Britain.
Good point.
Because of the family farm tax.
Does that affect you personally? You come from a farming area.
I came from a farming area. I was never a farmer. I'm
Okay,
not a farmer.
James, I'm going to stop you because I've got to be honest with you. I think you've made your only mistake. We're not just concerned about farmers in Great Britain. 60% of our pork comes from Northern Ireland, which is not Great Britain. Thank you so much to Pete. Thank you to James. We'll be back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm just going to admit this. I can't help myself. When James McAlpine left, he's just an enormous man, 7'4" or whatever it is. His hand was like the size of two of my hands. And you know, Asher, there was a question I wanted to ask him that I was not brave enough to ask. I'm not going to say what it was.
We all know what that question was.
You turned round and went,
is everything in proportion? And I was saying it out loud, and unbelievably, the mic was on, and it was texting my mother with that very question. Luckily, I caught it in time.
I'm going to be honest with you. Hashtag me too. We failed on that one, didn't we? Anyway, right. So get it together.
Probably has though.
We're assuming it's all in proportion. We didn't look, nor did we ask.
Let's ask Ken what he thinks. Ken in London, what do you think? Ken. Good morning, Ken. Hallelujah.
That's God's business. Good evening. Good morning.
God's business. You're right. It's God's business. Yeah. Sorry,
Listen
Ken.
to this.
Yeah.
I'm on the highway to heaven. Heaven.
Keep going.
Listen, I was just studying on Google. Did you know that last year approximately 62 million people died? Approximately 150,000 die every day on Earth. 150,000 a day.
Yep.
7,000 people die every hour. 106 people die every minute. So you're on here for 60 minutes. That's 106 times 60. And there's 2 deaths every 6 hours.
It's 6,048.
It's a bit depressing, this news, Ken. Can't you be a bit more lighter?
Listen, a wise man prepares to meet God. I've been studying up a wee bit about a hell.
Yeah.
Allow me to speak about that, because right now most of your listeners, most of your viewers, most of them, the majority
will be going to hell.
Are on the highway to hell. Yeah,
right, yeah.
I was on it at one time, but now I'm on the highway to heaven. Listen to this.
That was a good TV show, wasn't it? The
Bible warns us of the danger of eternal damnation. It's a place of eternal judgment, eternal vengeance. It's a place of eternal...
Ken, can I stop you on this? Can I stop you on this and ask you this question? No, well, let me ask you this question. Ken, my show, let me ask you this question. What is the justification for your assertion that the majority of people are going to hell?
Because Jesus said that
but why do you know they're not Christians?
Because when I speak to people, I find very few Christians.
No. I'll tell you why I'm being critical of you. There is simply a blind assumption that the majority of people are not Christians, the majority of people are not believers in Jesus, and the majority of people are therefore going to hell. The truth of the matter is, you don't know the religious views of the viewers and listeners of this show. You've simply assumed.
We know what Jesus said. He said, broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many go in thereat. And he said, straight and narrow is the gate that leadeth to life, and few there be that find it.
Yeah, but hang on, Ken. But Ken, I like you very much, but you've got to remember what you've done on my show. You've come onto my show with no evidence whatsoever and dismissed the Christians that view this show and listen to it and say they're definitely going to hell. And the reason you've done that is because you've done no research and you don't know.
I've done the research. If you're not born again, you're not a Christian. You're not a Christian, Andre. You're a Roman Catholic. You're not a born again Christian. Jesus said to get to heaven, you have to be born again, man. You don't believe.
Right. Just to be clear. Jesus did not endorse the born again Christian religious organisation because it hadn't been invented. What has happened, Ken? I do like you very much, but your religious denomination has adopted a name based on what Jesus said, and you've now said Jesus said you can only go to heaven if you're born again. Therefore, because my organisation, which was established 1,500 years later, because my organisation is called the Born Again Christians, you have to join my organisation or you're going to hell. I mean, that
sounds like a cult in a way. It's a sort of cult.
Andre, you're spouting hot air here. My organisation is not a born-again organisation. Born again is an experience with God.
No. There is a denomination, Ken, there is a denomination called Born Again Christians who assert that if you are not part of their denomination, you are going against Jesus. That denomination was set up 1,700 years after Jesus.
Andre, are you a Christian?
Yes.
Are you born again?
Yes.
When were you born again?
I was born again at my baptism and later in my confirmation.
That's nonsense.
It was a terrible label.
I'm not a member of your denomination. I was born again.
No,
I was born again.
You're not past the test.
No, hang on a second.
Not good
What is right? Let's just be clearer. Stop for 1 second. What did Jesus mean when he said being born again? It means that you are born once physically and a second time spiritually. What he means is, have you consented to believe in God? I have consented to believe in God through my confirmation. The problem, Ken, that you've got is you are a member of an organisation called the Born Again Christians, and if you fail to join that organisation, then you believe that you've failed to do God's duty, which is garbage.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you've literally stolen the name from the Bible.
See, let your caller speak, man. You're speaking all the time as people phone up. Whenever somebody calls you, listen to this. When somebody calls your show, you allow them to say 1 or 2 sentences, and then you spout on for 10 sentences.
Thank you, Ken. That was Ken with his 10. Carry on.
Listen, if Ken, listen. If I say Britney Spears is the greatest singer in history and change my name to Britney Spears, that does not make me the greatest singer in history.
We'll leave Ken to ponder on that.
Oh, by the way, I love Ken to bits. He's phenomenal and he does great work. People have called him legendary, which he hates because he believes that is venerating him in a way that shouldn't. Yeah. However, joining the religious denomination of born-again Christians does not prove that you are godlike because they used the name that Jesus used.
Carol, Manchester Carol, what's up? Good morning to you.
Thank you so much. Can I just say a little thing to Ken? Ken, there's a lovely little saying called footsteps. Investigate that, my darling, and it'll probably broaden you with your religion and that. So that's all I can say. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going down the road regarding Great Britain. I'm going down the road regarding... firstly, I am Great Britain. I'm British. Second, I'm English. Somewhere along the line, right, is over the last few decades, right, we're all fighting, like individually, from Ireland to the Welsh to the Scottish to the English. I'm really, it's so annoying because the ordinary people at the end of the day, probably majority feel like me, like in Great Britain.
But what upsets me, Carol, what upsets me is I've got nothing against this. I actively love Northern Ireland, I actively love Scotland, I actively love Wales. If I could be from any country on earth, I would be Welsh, simply because they're part of the United Kingdom, but they also have the heritage that comes from being a small country. What worries me is these people being elected in, Northern Ireland's slightly different, but these people being elected in Edinburgh and Cardiff, it seems to me, define themselves by how much they hate the English and how much they think of themselves as victims.
Totally agree with you. That's where I was coming down on the next area, right, is that with governments, at the end of the day, I'll just cut to the throat with it all, right, they're all intensive care. Absolutely all intensive care. People are looking now on reform regarding, at the end of the day, I've been looking at it, lots of other people have been looking at it. I'm debating, I'm in this, I'm in that, or whatever, I'm not easily led with personalities or anything. I need to look at
Carol, can I ask you a question? Yes. I'm not intending this to be a difficult question.
No, it's fine.
But it's a question of the future. What do you want? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I think the first thing we all have to do is say, what do we want this country to be? What do you want?
What I want at the end of the day, now I'll just say personally, that's just me.
Yep.
Personally, just me. I've always been very involved with my country from a kid to even now. What I want, right, is that I want Great Britain. I just want Great Britain. I just want Great Britain. I want our cultures back because it's disappearing. It's not just in England. It's going in Scotland, Wales, Ireland and everything. We're disappearing.
Yeah, but what you're implying, and I don't have a problem with this, by the way, but there are people who disagree with you. What you're implying is that uncontrolled immigration makes Britain not Britain. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. There are people on the political left who say that what is great about Britain is that we have had uncontrolled immigration, and that London is only 30% Brit or white Anglo-Saxon, whatever you want to call it. However, the greatness of London is that all of these different people rub along together. And look, I'm not encouraging you or goading you to say something that would embarrass yourself or seem racist or whatever.
No, I don't.
Why should I want this country to remain majority British?
Because at the end of the day, we are British, and I don't want that being taken away from us. I don't.
It's diluting our culture, isn't it? It's a cultural genocide that is happening before our very eyes. You look at cities where I'm from, Birmingham. It's not Birmingham anymore. It's
but let me stop you, Carol. Just stay there for a second. Let me ask you this, Asha, which I think is a difficult question. So, I agree with you in these points that you're making. Why is it a problem that undermines Britain now? It's predominantly Muslim immigration, when it wasn't a problem that affected immigration when it was principally Jewish immigration.
Well, I mean, I don't know whether Muslim or but certain parts of the world they don't do things that we would do, and in certain cultures you keep your house.
Carol, give us a second.
Keep your house clean, and what's on the street it doesn't really matter, and that's the culture, and you keep your. But it doesn't work. You can talk to someone who's not of a British culture, and you can say, "Oh, it's effing cold today," and they might think you're having a go at them and go, "Why are you saying this thing don't rub along?"
But here's basic things. So I can't answer this question. It's quite hard. But what I'm driving at is this: everyone who looks at you would describe you as a patriotic, proper Brit, Brummie, all that sort of thing. Your family, came here hundreds of years ago, but when they did come here, people did say, "Oh my God, we've got a load of Jews turning up. That's going to affect the country."
And it's not. When we had low immigration, everyone sort of blended in and became British, didn't they? It was when we've brought it in mass immigration, and also we've told people we've caused this division with all this racial division, and at the end of the day, what's happened is the population of this country are at the bottom of the heap. The white working class lads perform the worst in schools. You look at the rape gangs when they've all been ignored. If you're white, you can't get jobs somewhere. So it's basically racism, apartheid against the indigenous population.
I'll tell you what I think.
On a racial divide that we didn't have 25 years ago.
We'll go back to Carol in a second. I think my answer to it would be this. I was on a TV show that was filmed in Golders Green. And somebody, I thought to myself, why is Golders Green okay and say Nelson in Lancashire, which is fundamentally a Pakistani town, why is that wrong? And what it struck me was about Golders Green is it is a place in London that Jewish people live at. That's it. Right, it's not different.
Wholly Jewish.
But it's not a different city. It doesn't have a different set of governance rules. It doesn't have two-tier policing. It doesn't have signs in Hebrew or Yiddish or anything like that. It is just a place where Jewish people live. When you go to a lot of what we've disparagingly called the tribal areas, which are now home to significant and recent immigration from the third world, you tend to find that these areas have become much more similar to the countries where people have come from than Britain. And so you would say to yourself, look, at the end of the day, Chinatown is a place where Chinese restaurants are. It's not fundamentally not London or not Manchester or not Liverpool. Carol, I'm going to go back to you because I think that is a fair distinction. What we don't want is to create effectively tribal sovereign territory.
Yeah. Can I just go back regarding there's no diversity. Everyone keeps talking about diversity. There is no diversity. It's been something that has been given. I lived in Moss Side, as you know. I lived in Moss Side, right, and we lived together.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, after the 70s and 80s, right, summer had happened radically within the 90s. And what's happened, because I've moved into a community where was majority from my side was mainly in white, and I buckled, literally went to town on people regarding, because we were cursed because we came from Moss Side and whatever. And
I remember the reputation.
Absolutely, literally. And now I'm walking around where I live, and there's areas, pockets of areas of Muslim communities, right, have no diversity. You know,
but hang on a second, Carol. I'm going to defend. Give me a second. Let me defend these people. When Asher's family came here, obviously they'd been thrown out of what is now Israel because of the Romans or whatever. But you know, they were encouraged to integrate.
Yes.
When the people who've come over from Pakistan, you can't criticise them. I'll tell you why you can't criticise them. They have been told that they should not integrate. They should not change their cultural practices. They should not get rid of that. And anybody who tells them to be British is a racist. That's what they've been told.
Yeah. And it is. It's like, but nobody can say that I'm a racialist because I've lived and born where I was born and lived with all kinds of colours, all kinds of people.
But like you said, everyone who I used to live in Hume, just down the road, Green Hayes Lane, and the black and white people used to in the States would all be mates and that. But that, like you say, it changed in the 90s, and it all came from this divisive, basically racial separation.
And it came from one culture. Why are we all talking about it? We're not only talking about it in this country, we're talking about the whole of
Europe. But the slight problem is, you know, when I look at the problem in this country, it's not the Quran, it's not Muhammad, it's not Islam, right? So if you turn around and go, Islam's a problem, my answer is going to be no, it isn't. And I'll tell you the reason, because it's uncontrolled third world immigration that's the problem. I don't give a toss.
Mass immigration.
I don't give a toss at what religion somebody is. It doesn't bother me, right?
It's the culture.
The issue is we, and when I say we, I mean our government, has gone to Pakistan, has gone to Bangladesh, has gone to Syria, has gone to Afghanistan and said, come to this country and we will put you on benefits for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We will not expect you to integrate in any way.
You don't even have to learn the language.
Yeah. What we're going to do is, on occasions when somebody has the temerity to suggest that you should integrate into British culture, we will castigate them as a racist. Yeah. You should continue.
And don't forget about our children.
Well, yeah, but hang on a second. You can't blame your average Pakistani for that.
Afford to go anywhere. My community around here, I've never known it. When we were at a certain age, we could leave at home. But
you are being told. But Carol, you are being told as a migrant to this country that it's un-British to integrate. Right? You are being told that it is the duty of your neighbour to learn your language and culture, not your duty to learn. And so what are you expecting people... I mean, look, I'm not happy about this, but what are you expecting people to do when you tell them, don't integrate, don't learn the language?
Well, it's the same with the boat people coming on the boats. It's not them. You can't blame them. I do the same as them. It's the government and civil service allowing it.
Talking about, with no doubt, in the areas... I've tried to speak to people, and they're talking about the Muslim ladies and whatever. I try, and they don't look at you. They won't give you eye contact. They won't, what you call it. And I do.
But it wasn't like that 20, 30 years ago. You know, Muslim people were everyone was integrating, weren't they? But it's this mass immigration.
So here's what we need to say. This is my view, and I stand by it. Look, if it is your cultural view that people who do not wear Islamic dress are bad or evil, you ought to move back to Pakistan. Reality check, right? If you believe that if you dislike, as an example, living in a majority Christian country, that's fine. Move to a country that's not majority Christian. The problem I've got is this. Look, I accept that the women that have had a go, been rude to you, are rude. But always remember something, they're force-fed the message that it is your duty. It is your duty to learn Urdu. It is your duty to go to the mosque. It is your duty to wear their clothes, not for them to integrate. That's what they've been told.
Brainwashed from a very, very early age and very, very early. But when I remember when I lived in the 70s, which we had quite a lot of Asians, Indian, African, Irish, you know, like English.
And everyone mixed, didn't... Well, maybe they have their separate things, but everyone mixed in the town, didn't they?
We all wore the same stuff. The Muslim ladies, they wore what I wore.
But let's remind...
They were great.
Let's remind ourselves of something called cultural appropriation. When we had suffered uncontrolled immigration and we attempted to integrate these people into our society, the left, the Guardian, the BBC, that's cultural appropriation. So if you attempt to say that, say, as an example, Tikka Masala is now British, they'll go, no, that's cultural appropriation. They are determined to smash British culture. And these women, the reason they're looking at you, in the way they're looking at it is because they've been told to do it. Let me tell you, the NHS, which is supposed to be a medical body, no, actually, the predominant medical body in this country has issued guidance saying if you marry your first cousin, that's beneficial for society. It's not. It's a horrendous genetic disaster which is costing us billions.
I know that because I had a premature girl.
But at the end of the day, so can I ask you this question? Carol, stop for a second. Hang on a second. So, if I am from Bangladesh or if I'm from Pakistan and I marry my first cousin, you can't turn round to me and say, you shouldn't have done that. The NHS told me to do it. What else are they supposed to listen to? And what are they told? What are they told? That somebody like you and somebody like me who points out the medical fact that marrying your cousin is a bad idea, they are racists who should not be allowed to have a platform. That's it. What are you expecting people to say?
Anyway, Carol, we've got to take a little breaky. 03444991000. Follow us on Twitter at Virtual Ash and at Andre JB Walker. That's right, it's talk. We'll be back in a jiffy. Loads of calls.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, when the break comes, me and Asher and whoever's in the studio continue our conversation. Do you know, I just told him something I'd love to tell you. I've got a very dear friend of mine who is Jewish and came over the other day to visit me from Florida. And we were discussing why, A, there's a perception that Jewish people are more successful, but B, that I imagine per capita the average Jew in Britain is more successful than your average person. I don't know that's true, but there is a perception. And he had a theory which I think is phenomenal, right? You've got to remember, up until fairly recently, most people couldn't read or write. However, in order to do your bar mitzvah age 13 as a Jew, you have to be able to read in Hebrew. Therefore, in a time when most people couldn't read or write, every single Jewish person could.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a mitzvah. The whole point of being a religion is you're just learning and reading all the time. So it was all about that. And also, of course, there was a lot of a lot of vocations that you can move around because they were kicked out of a lot of countries. And, you know, they don't make very good carpenters either and stuff like that. Apart from Jesus, he was quite good, wasn't he? Let's go to Steve in Manchester. Or was he? Hi, Steve.
All right, mate. How are you doing? You all right?
All right, man. Did you know that last caller? She was from Manchester. Did you know her from the Market Square?
I felt it.
Carol.
I felt it was. Yeah, I thought it was a bit heavy. That. Look, I appreciate everyone's got an opinion about things and that, but.
Well, what did you disagree with her about?
I don't know. She's a bit aggressive.
Well, she's from Manchester.
Well, let me ask you this, Steve. So, when this person,
that in a bad way, by the way.
No. I understand your point. But when she phones up, she's struggling to express something.
I think she's got a massive point to make, and I agree with her on a lot of the stuff, but just don't sound so angry.
The problem, the big problem is this.
She needs to chill out a bit, doesn't she?
I think.
Why are we even talking about this anyway?
Yeah. I think the problem isn't the problem twofold. Point number one, we've got no way of expressing this. Point number two, we are bullied for expressing it. If you were to stand up as an example in your average school as a pupil and say, I'm deeply concerned about the level of immigration to our community. Hang on a second. If you were to stand up in your average school, let's say an assembly, as a 14-year-old, go, very concerned about the way my community is changing because of uncontrolled immigration, you'd be suspended, right? So you'll be castigated as a racist for the legitimate view.
You know Ermston, don't you?
I do, yeah.
I had a guy, I know you're not going to cut me off for saying this,
Producer, what did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
He said, I'm a white trucker.
A white
Put
trucker?
Put an F in front of it. Yeah. Put an F in front of it. And this guy called me
let me.
Is that right or wrong?
Okay, let me answer. Well, let me answer. Let me answer the question.
Yeah.
There is only one racial group in this country where it is totally acceptable to be racist towards them. Now, I'm not saying there is no racism against Asians. I'm not saying there's no racism against black people.
Some guy calls me a white, and it begins with an F.
Yes. So the reason why that is acceptable, the reason why that is acceptable, just let him continue. Don't worry, we don't need to be here. Keep going.
Come on, man. What gives you the right to say that to me?
Because it's my show. Piss off. Turn him off. Right. So the answer. So you can't phone me and ask a question and then get offended when I answer it. The answer to the question, which is uncomfortable, is this: you are allowed to be racist against white people in this country. Look at this. Applications particularly encouraged from ethnic minorities means whites need not apply. Steve, thank you so much. Shouldn't have got upset. David is in Uxbridge. David, you're on talk.
Dave.
Hi, it seems to me that society, every aspect of our society, and it maybe as a feature of democracy, is wandering into absurdity all over the place. And my solution would be to have a sort of dictatorship like Switzerland.
Well, Switzerland's not a dictatorship, it's the opposite.
Yeah, it is in a sense, because what it is...
It's not remotely like a dictatorship.
Wait a minute. What you have in Switzerland is it's a dictatorship by the people, which is a true democracy.
Okay, so Steve, David, I love you to bits, but you can't have a dictatorship by the people. Dictatorship is one person, the people is a plebocracy.
So what, they have a sort of pure democracy, you're saying?
Yeah, they're constantly having votes on things.
A referendum.
Example, which we have technology to do now on a daily basis.
Yeah, we have the technology on that.
Yeah, we do.
So, for example, the Reform Party could, say, advocate the death penalty and then never get elected. But the people might actually want the death penalty. So if you could have a mechanism whereby a party would put forward its manifesto, you would implement the manifesto, and anybody wanted anything outside of that, or that party wanted to do something which was not on the manifesto, like bring back the death penalty, which I'd really love to bring back, they could simply put it forward as a referendum.
What is remarkable?
People brought it in, not me.
Yeah. So David, I'm going to help people out who are unfamiliar with Switzerland. Clearly, you are familiar, but many people aren't. What is weird about Switzerland is, in some respects, it's not even a country. I mean, it is legally, but it's basically something like 25 counties that are basically independent of each other, and then a very small national government. So the constitution of Switzerland is very, very simple. In most cases, to put a law through at a national level, you have to have a referendum. Now, we've talked, David, I'll let you come back in a second. Apologies for the explanation. I've talked previously about, in Switzerland, in order to become a Swiss citizen, you have to learn Swiss German, to a standard that is proven that you can speak it. You have to have lived in Switzerland for 10 years, but critically, the village or town that you live in will have a referendum on whether you should be granted citizenship, and that referendum is a secret ballot. And I was given an example recently. A vegan moved to my friend's town in Switzerland, and she was writing to the paper all the time saying that Swiss cows were animal abuse and whatever. and people put out leaflets saying, do not give her citizenship because veganism is un-Swiss, and she lost the vote.
Yep.
Thanks, David. That was a lovely story. That Kevin in Hull.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Did you enjoy that story about the cows in Switzerland?
Well, I'll tell you something. You might be offended, by the way.
Creamy
Kevin,
milk,
Kevin, you might be offended, but there was somebody who moved into a town in Switzerland and wore Islamic headdress, and they would decline citizenship on the grounds that Islamic headdress is un-Swiss.
They blow that big horn. They blow that big
They'd
horn,
qualified
don't
in
they?
every other respect.
That massive horn. So what did you want to talk about, Kev?
Oh, as long as it's not religion.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, man.
And the ethnic mix in England, we'll talk about absolutely anything.
Well, you tell us what you want to talk about normally. You don't call in and then we tell you what to talk about. That'd be silly, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
so what do you want to talk about, Kev?
Well, all right then. Ash, where do you come from in Lancashire?
Birmingham.
Ah, you're a Brummie.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it was Lancashire back then, but it's called Barrow-in-Furness. It became Cumbria.
Oh, yeah. Is that where you're from, are you?
Well, that's originally where I'm from.
Cumbria. Yeah, I've been up to Cumbria. That's the Lake District, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kendal, Windermere. So what happened that you had to go to Hull? Something
Basically,
terrible must have happened.
Yeah, it was. It was Margaret Thatcher, bless her.
She moved everyone out to Hull.
Well, it was basically the main employers.
It was MFI, wasn't it, in Hull?
No,
MFI. I think MFI.
Can I tell you one thing? My parents bought furniture from MFI. Yeah. It all just fell to bits in about 10 minutes.
But it looked nice.
It was Vickers Shipbuilding. We built the Invincible, the Sheffield, and the Coventry. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately, 2 were lost in the Falklands.
In the Falklands, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I lost a friend on one of them.
Good. It's terrible, man.
Yeah. But the thing is, she halved the ship force, or the people that made them, in 1 year, and then she halved it again. So,
but Kevin, can I ask you this question, because this is going to be a big debate at the next general election. You heard it here first. So, Margaret Thatcher was the problem she was trying to solve was inefficient state-owned companies losing a fortune. Right, so she privatised lots of stuff, rationalised and whatever. Now, you can argue about the fact that not enough money was put into the areas left behind, and I get that. Nigel Farage and others now are talking about nationalisation. I'll tell you why. Because what has happened more recently is these companies are no longer in the private sector. They've been nationalised by the sovereign wealth funds of countries like Qatar and whatever. And I think what gave people the heebie-jeebies was this. British Steel, the furnaces, were being shut down by the Chinese, not because they were uneconomic, but because it was in the strategic and military interests of the Chinese to shut the furnaces down. Now, Nigel Farage says in that case, there are certain strategic pieces of infrastructure that now should be nationalised. So I think if Farage was here now, he would say, reopen the shipbuilders of Hull, even if it costs money.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the thing is, what happened was, when you put thousands of people out of jobs, it's not people, it's families.
Yeah.
And that's why we all extracted from Barrow. We're trying to find work somewhere else. You know, I believe there was welders who built submarines and whatnot. They extracted to Canada because, one, they could just and barely afford to go there. But that's where the work was.
Yeah, but with respect, let me throw this back. If you look at the Airbus project, right? Airbus, you can say it's a French company, but Airbus fundamentally recognises that individual European countries cannot build major jets on their own. Therefore, they have to be transnational. So as an example, the person who, I don't know, built the fuselage in the UK gets made redundant, and that's bad. But at the same time, had each and every country in Europe had its own aircraft manufacturer, they'd have all gone bust. Whereas actually, when you've got the Airbus consortium, you are able to continue building planes independently in Europe, admittedly, on a multilateral basis.
Well, a classic example was Concorde, wasn't it? The
yes,
French
absolutely,
and British.
absolutely.
Anyway, thanks, Kevin. That was Kevin, who was forced to move to Hull from Cumbria by Margaret Thatcher's policies.
I've got to be honest with you, Barrow in Furness is not the Garden of Eden, but Hull.
No, but compared to Hull, I mean, it's Andre and Ash at Virtual Ash, Andre JP Walker. It's Talk. We've got Matt, Richard, Lawrence, Grace, Brian, Whitley Beer, and Paul the Monkey Hanger after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, can we just clear this up? Because Ken is moaning, right? Let me just say this to you. Born again means the following. You are initially born and you become the religion of your parents in most cases. So Asher was automatically a Jew, I was automatically a Catholic. Then in the fullness of time, you are born again when you consent to join that religion. In Asher's case, he did his bar mitzvah. In my case, I did my confirmation. Right. Jesus did not say, if you are any denomination of Christian, you are all going to hell, other than the one that will be invented in 1700 years' time, called the born-again Christians, specifically named after that text in the Bible. He did not say that, because it's obviously garbage. OK, let's go to Richard in Sheffield. Richard on Talk.
All right, mate.
All right, Richard.
All right, lads. I was just going to say, like, you know, I've been watching your show for quite a bit, and, like, well, for a few years now, and that. But I've never heard that one come up about, this, as you know, like, as you probably will know, there's a big foreign bases in Sheffield, you know.
There's foreign bases in Sheffield?
No, foreign areas, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
right, yeah.
I've never heard that one, like, and it's completely true, this. The Pakistani.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is the David Starkey concept. And by the way, Ash and I didn't make it up. David stole it. Sorry, we stole it from David Starkey. He says that it's not uncontrolled immigration, it's the creation of tribal areas.
No, I'm not on about that, honestly. Can I get to my point, please? I've never heard that one. They bring 90% of heroin into this country.
Right.
Never heard that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what's your point? I mean, obviously heroin comes from certain areas where there's links to people. I mean,
that's a bad one as it is. You know what I mean? I can tell you plenty more bad ones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a really bad one as it is, and I've never heard it yet.
Well, you didn't hear it on this show tonight.
Well, I mean, I know there are gangs from certain areas, obviously, where they have access to heroin. Obviously, different areas have different access. I'm sure if you've got South Americans, you've got access to other things. Anyway, let's go to Matt in Exeter. Matt.
Hi, Matt. It's not Exeter, it's Manchester.
All right. It's Manchester. Garson.
It's Manchester.
Garson, it's Manchester, Exeter. Well, it's all, yeah. So what did you want to say, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't usually listen to talk radio, and just to be up front, I'm quite a left-wing person.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Reading, down south.
So what forced you to have to move up north, Matt?
I came to the University of Manchester for university and graduated a few years ago, and I just decided to stay up here because
of the party. Because of the partying,
eh? When you got everything you need in Manchester.
So do you live in the town centre?
Not too far from the town centre.
Well, which bit do you live in?
20-minute tram ride away.
What? Which bit?
Didsbury.
Didsbury. I was going to say Didsbury. You sound like a Didsbury man. So what do you do? Are you a vet? Or something like that?
A vet?
An osteopath? What are you?
I would be the worst vet.
Richard and Judy used to live in... Richard and Judy lived in Didsbury.
Do you know something? If you're from Manchester, I believe that you'll find it funny that he says that everyone in Didsbury is a vet.
Yeah, it's posh. I mean, I used to go to that club. It was called Fridays down Didsbury, down Wilmslow Road. I don't think it's called that anymore.
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't exist.
The building's there because I saw it. I saw it. So what do you do? What do you do in Didsbury?
So I finished uni in 2022.
You've been on the dole ever since.
So I'm training to become an accountant.
I mean, that's not far from
hold
what
on. How long are you training for? Years ago, what have you been doing? You've just been enjoying yourself, haven't you?
Pardon?
Have you just been enjoying yourself in Manchester?
Well, it takes a while, and everyone goes at their own pace. It's hard studying whilst working full time. But thankfully, I've had employers that have liked my work and been willing to kind of give me a bit of extra time.
So, what do you do work-wise before you qualify as accountant? What are you doing currently?
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm working as a trainee accountant whilst studying.
Right, yeah.
Hang on a second. Listen, Matt, you sound like a good bloke, but you did say the following. It's quite hard to study and work at the same time. What you're working as, a trainee accountant. I mean, that is the same thing, though, isn't it, right? Yeah. I mean, when you said you were working... what Asher thought you meant when you said you were working and studying at the same time, like you had a job during the day and in the evening you were studying. When you're a trainee accountant studying accounting...
Sorry, I should have been clearer.
Yeah, you weren't too clear.
I do get days off work every now and again to study. But
you're already doing it at work.
To become a chartered accountant, it's a lot of areas of finance that you've not worked in before.
Yeah.
So it is quite hard. And
it is. There's a lot of regulations.
What's your favourite bit of accountancy?
What is your favourite?
Sure, it's that moment when you talk to a client and they have no idea about any. They could be like a very, very on it business owner, and they just need someone to take care of. Just tell them in very simplistic, down to earth terms what's going on.
I used to sign on in Didsbury. That was my signing on.
I'll tell you what we're going to do when we come back.
It'll be groovy. It'll be dancing.
Right, when we come back, Asher, I'm going to ask you what the worst nightclub you've been to. You've been to lots of them. No, in the entire country. Also, don't bother phoning us about this, but you can text in the worst nightclub. I've got a few rotters.
Back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
So we've been told to read out that 90% of heroin comes from Afghanistan, not Pakistan. Another fact of the day.
Well, a lot of the gangs do. I mean, it's quite... I mean, Turkish as well. By the way, COP30, the summit conference hall is on fire, and it looks like quite a big fire. The cause of the fire...
Do us a favour. We'll clip it for social. Do it as breaking news. Go on.
OK, breaking news, and COP30 happened about 5 hours ago, but I've only just seen it.
No, do it again properly. Okay. We'll just clip it. No, they won't notice in the morning. No, stop. Go. Tonight we have some breaking news. Just do that.
OK. Just getting some breaking news. COP30 summit conference hall catches fire. No one's apparently been hurt. Flames erupt inside the pavilion at the UN talks in Brazil, forcing delegates to flee. Well, they've built that 40-mile road where they've chopped down pristine virgin rainforest so they can go and have their steaks and everything down there. It was thrown into chaos on Thursday after a fire tore through the conference hall in Belém, Brazil, forcing the site to be evacuated. Anyway, that's what's going on there. Let's go to Paul, the monkey hanger in Hartlepool. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Dash.
You all right, man? What's going on, man?
Well, what I was going to ask you is, do you know anybody that's needed operation in the last couple of years?
No, I mean, it's literally a waiting list is at least a year or two, isn't it?
Well, do you know that £200 million that they've just spent on COVID?
Yeah. Just stop sanity. Yeah. Just not sanity.
They could have operated and saved. God knows
it wouldn't have gone on that though. It would have gone on diversity and cousin marriage. It would have gone on everything else and pensions.
There might have been a chance a little bit got by to save.
Do you know something? Do you know, Paul? I could have done the COVID inquiry on my own for free. I would have written on a page, this is a load of garbage. The government does not have the right to put us under house arrest.
Basically, they said Boris Johnson killed 23,000 people and Dominic Cummings was sexist. That's what they spent £200 million on.
It's a bit, but Paul, let me throw this at you and then you can respond. Here's what annoys me. Me and Ash have sat here for several years and we've heard people say, oh, if we pull out the European Convention on Human Rights, yeah, OK. Bad people will be able to be punished, but those protections that protect illegal migrants, that protect terrorists, that protect criminals staying in Britain, that allow Levi Belfield to get married in prison even though he took a hammer to someone's head, all of those enable you to have rights every single day. And then my government placed me under house arrest during COVID, and where was the European Convention on Human Rights? Right, what is the most basic things? Being able to see your mum when she's dying, being able to see your family, leaving your house. All of our most basic human rights were violated.
Making a living, yeah.
Violated. It didn't work.
Here's the thing as well, right? Do you know the kids when they were locked up when they were in school? Yeah. It was the unions that were saying, we can't do this, we can't...
It was terrible what they did, forcing kids to have an injection when we knew it didn't really affect kids.
What about... So just to be clear, the European Convention on Human Rights says that mandatory medical procedures should not be allowed, and that was what was proposed. Cruel and unusual punishment. Everybody knows that locking a teenager up for 18 months is cruel and unusual punishment. You can only have your liberty taken away with a fair trial. That didn't happen. You can't be stopped from seeing your family, the right to family life. That didn't exist. The right to protest didn't exist. The right to a job didn't exist. All just evaporated. So now they're sat with me going, hey, we have to give Jerry Adams compensation because human rights are universal. No, they're not. No, they're not.
The human rights is what's destroying the country.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there was no human rights. My right to see my mum when she was dying in the hospital didn't exist.
Exactly.
My right to family life didn't exist.
They pick and choose.
My right to a fair trial didn't exist. My right to not be detained by the government didn't exist. My right to protest didn't exist. None of the...
Unless you're a BLM, they got the right to protest.
So, look, if you've blown somebody up or if you're an illegal migrant, you get all the rights.
Yeah.
If you're a country that says it defends human rights placed people under house arrest for no reason other than they were worried about a pandemic. Well, load of garbage.
Yeah. When somebody comes across the water, right, they shouldn't be allowed any financial money. They shouldn't be allowed any money for finance. For defence.
Exactly. It should be charities can deal with it. There's a lot of do-gooder charities. They can. Sorry.
I mean, what's amazing, of course, about uncontrolled immigration is the Aston Villa situation, which is a group of people move from the Islamic world to Aston and then say Jews who have lived here for 300 years are not welcome because they're settlers. What?
I feel sorry for the Jews.
What are you talking about?
I really feel sorry for the Jews. They're just persecuted for no good reason. You know, it's just bad news, it is.
Thanks, Paul. Jack in Kent. Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack. Morning.
Hello there. Hello.
You've heard that a lot, haven't you? Yeah.
Listen, yes, I have. Yeah. This phrase...
It's polite of you to laugh at it, though, anyway.
It was polite.
It was.
Yeah, I try to be polite.
Thanks, man.
Even to rude people. This phrase, born-again Christian, is a tautology because so it's quite clear you can't become a Christian unless you're born again. So that, you know, it shows a misunderstanding to say that you are...
Are you born again?
Well, I'll tell you what irritates me, Jack, and I've said this before, and I'm going to be critical of my own religion, not my own denomination. If you want to anger a Christian who's walking the streets with a megaphone, walk up and tell them you're a committed Christian. They will go crazy. And the reason I say that is because what these people who walk the streets principally do is confirm that they are a better person than you by telling you that they are more pious or more interested in whatever. Look, Ken is a very, very nice man. But the minute that you suggest you're as good a Christian as him, he goes crazy.
He turns.
Because his shtick is to be a better person than you. That's what motivates him.
I've found that if you're approached in the street and you say, "There's no need, I am a believer," they immediately lose interest.
Yeah, they'll go absolutely crazy. They're really angry.
Well, they don't go crazy in my experience. They just lose interest and just move on. Ash, can I ask you a question while I'm on?
Shoot.
I don't know whether you're an Orthodox Jew, but can you tell us, what do the Jews believe? Are they still waiting for a Messiah?
Yeah.
Great question.
Yes, in the Jewish religion, the Messiah has not arrived yet. Just waiting for him to.
But they are waiting.
He should be coming in the next few years.
Oh, by the way, can I tell you something that Jack? Can I tell you something?
Paul Ross will know. You call him up after the news.
Can I tell you something?
He knows everything.
Can I tell you something that Asher told me that I didn't realise?
Don't tell him that.
So I thought there was Orthodox Jews with all the gear, you know, the expert level ones, and the liberal Jews. That's not true, is it? So you are officially an Orthodox Jew,
but I'm not.
Even though you don't.
There's a Hasidic one. If you're religious, obviously you have different. You know, you wear a hat, and I don't know why they wear a hat. I mean, it's like 17th century.
So what we think is, a lot of us, we think that Orthodox Jews are the ones with all the gear.
Yeah, no, that's not really. I mean, some do. If I was a very religious one, I might do. But then there's also the Hasidic Jews and Haredi, they're the very religious ones, and you know they wear the hat. I mean, even I don't quite get it, but yeah, there are different versions.
I've got to be honest with you.
They all seem mainly get on.
I'm going to criticise. Give me a second, Jack. I'm going to criticise Islam. Judaism for one moment. Me and Ash got taken out by a very lovely man to a kosher Jewish restaurant, and we both ordered a massive steak. And he said that the pepper sauce is vegan. And I went, why is the pepper sauce vegan? He said, in Judaism, they don't like the animal to bathe in its mother's milk. I said, well, look, given you've killed it and chopped it up, I don't think it's overly worried about the milk.
I mean, it's a good point, that, because I say to that, why can you have chicken with eggs? Anyway, Jack, what was your next question?
Yeah, so the Jews presumably